The following is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Subdeadites, welcome to part 3 of What If Deku was the son of Black Lightning. So I'm going to drop y'all in to Izuku in the 6th grade. He's at the top of his class, and classes are kind of, boring for him. The only person smarter than him is Richie, but that was to be expected. He's got a freaking, intellect quirk. Now, Richie's parents had the exact same idea as Jefferson and Lynn had, which is why he's not in freaking college. The crew is just enjoying lunch that Izuku made for everyone. The bento consisted of rice, tamagoyaki, and beef udon. It was phenomenal. Damn, bro, you did it again. Wish I could cook half as good as this, Francis said to Izuku while destroying his bento. Richie shook his head in agreement. Yes, they're in the same group. Somewhere in those 3 years, Richie got the gumption to ask Jennifer out, and she said yes. Richie is Jennifer's boyfriend, and Francis is a close friend of Izuku, so they're at least civil to one another. He's still gonna have his jerky moments, however. The school day went by rather quickly, and everyone made for the bus. Richie, are you coming by over for dinner? My mom's making beef stew. Richie had a look on his face. I wish I could, but my dad wants me home today. Jen kisses Richie on the cheek and makes for her bus. She sits next to Izuku as usual, with Francis behind him. You may be wondering why Francis is on the same bus. In short, he lives with the Pierce family. His mother is... she's not well right now. But to be more specific, she had a psychotic breakdown and attacked him. Luckily, Izuku was there to restrain her until she was put in a psych ward. This was like 2 years ago, and to this day, they have no idea what overcame her. Remember said Room gave up to be with his sisters? He's now bunking with Francis. Hey Jen, I know how you feel about Richie, but I need to warn you about something. For those of you who've seen Static, yes, I'm keeping that little detail. It's kind of imperative to, Richie Foley as a whole, as much as I hate writing it. Jennifer sighed. Okay, Francis, what's up? Both Jen and Izuku asked at the same time. There's no sugarcoating this, so I'll be blunt. Mr. Foley is extremely racist. I'm gonna say that exposure to Izuku caused Francis to be more civil and open up. Now, he and Richie aren't the best of friends, but he's been over his house, and his dad commented on how Francis was dressed like one of those people. Ugh, dear God, I hate saying this. Now, I didn't want to write this, but it's, like I said, it's kind of imperative to Richie's life, so here we go. Jennifer would have scoffed, but she's been living with Francis long enough to know that he's not going to lie to her. She took this information to heart, considering how dead serious Francis looked. How racist are we talking? Izuku asked. Well, he's no Klansman. He's just a bigot and holds to negative racial stereotypes. I think he had a run-in with the bad crowd, and it morphed his opinion. I've been telling him about you guys and what you've done for me, and he said, and I quote, even a tainted batch has a few good apples in them. He's not a lost cause. It's just gonna take a lot of time to show him that his way of viewing things is awful. Jennifer and Izuku started putting the pieces together. How often Richie would be over. How he changed the subject when going over to his place was mentioned, and topped off with how he never talked about his dad. If there was any doubt that this was legit, that went out the window. His mom knows about you, Jen. I told her. She's not like her husband, and she said she'd try to talk to him about it. But this has to be handled with subtlety, so let's leave Mr. Jeff out of this. You know how he is when racism is involved. The bus stops off at their house. Lucky them. School buses in my city don't really do that anymore. Just a centralized stop point, depending on where you live. But then again, that's really not my problem anymore, since I haven't gone on a school bus in a while, but I digress. Francis had dropped a knowledge bomb on the Pierce family, minus Jefferson. He was out on a mission, so that helped Lynn. Lynn said she'd go talk to Mr. Foley in a few days and show him how twisted his views were. Lynn went to the Foley residence on a day where Richie was gone on a weekend trip to Star Labs. Izuku didn't have any classes with them other than homeroom and didn't really want to go to that anyway. Star Labs was nothing new to him since Lynn worked there and he often went with her. Remember that scene in Static where Mr. Hawkins and Mr. Foley got snatched? Yeah, we're gonna roll with something like that here, but kinda not at the same point in time. Lynn is driving a very nice car, and the Foley family are living in a lower income area since Mr. Foley's pride won't exactly allow his wife to work. Now, said car is a Jaguar I-Pace. Now, an opportunist saw the car and would later go in later. This is when Izuku is doing something that I don't care if you have kids or not. This is universal. The potty dance. Sean opens his mouth, but Maggie beats him to the punch. Second door to the left, honey. Izuku makes a mad dash for the bathroom. So that's Izuku, huh? Richie won't shut up about him. He says he's the smartest kid he knows without an intelligence quirk. To be clear, Sean's not letting his views out. He knows the Pierce family are good people from his son, Francis, and really good Googling. Kids will be kids, I guess. So, I take it you're here to talk to me about my view on life? Sean asked Lynn. Yes, dear. We are. This is an intervention. Your racism has affected our son's life. He is in love with Lynn's daughter, and Jennifer is a good girl. I can't live like this anymore, dear. If you can't work on this... Lynn held Maggie's hand softly. Let me be clear, these two are really good friends. Their sons had been thick as thieves for years, so they'd met a lot. Sean grasped at what his wife was implying. If he didn't get over himself, she would leave him and take Richie with her. Between the two's quirks, there's no way they'd lose, and his choice of girlfriend made it clear who he'd want to go with. Oh, that's right, I didn't mention, now did I? Maggie here has a watered-down version of, well, Richie's quirk. She's really smart, like. Someone has been trying to get her into Star Labs level smart. And should things go well, guess what? That's where she's going. But once again, let's get back to it. Remember that opportunist? The hooded individual burst into the house since there was nothing of value in the car, short of said car. Give me all the money you got and the keys to the Jag. No funny business, or I'll freeze the lot of you. Ow, that hurt. To make his point, he froze the floor slightly. Lynn threw the keys and her purse at him. Take it and go. Sean looked at her funny for giving up so quickly. They're just things. They're not worth your lives. Period. Remember, Izuku went to the Porcelain Palace, which is currently out of Dude's view, and luckily enough the doors and walls were thick as all get out. Thick enough to really conceal the flush and make it sound like not a flush but just water cycling. The thug turned around and without missing a beat, Sean said, "It's laundry day. We were washing our clothes when she got here." The thug bought it, but grabbed Maggie as a hostage. "Try anything funny and she's dead." Before he could even get out the door, he was hit with enough of a shock to knock them both. "Good job, son." Lynn patted Izuku on the head and looked at Sean. "Thank you, Izuku. I'm a cop, and your mother's right. Chances are that if he left with my wife, I'd be reading her obituary tomorrow." Tears fell from his eyes. Almost losing his wife opened said eyes. He wouldn't change overnight, but most of his biased views would be getting squashed. As for the thug, it's Icicle Jr. Izuku stopped yet another villain, and if you even want to call him that at this moment. And Sean vowed to get help with overcoming his way of thinking. I'm not blaming this on his occupation. Nah, nothing like that at all. The racism was a part of Sean's character to begin with, and I had to give him a job because I really couldn't remember what he did, and a cop will work for story purposes, considering Izuku's eventual career. Like I said before, well, not even Izuku, actually. Izuku, not to mention Richie, so the eventual career will help. But like I mentioned before, I am not going there. Period. Let's get back to the story. A few months later, Sean had changed mostly to keep his family, and also as thanks to Izuku. His efforts to change actually helped him land detective, and due to looking into every possible angle, Izuku was beyond welcome in the Foley residence and was allowed to stay overnight alongside Francis. Jennifer, however, wasn't for, well, obvious reasons. She's welcome in the house, she just can't stay, is what I'm getting at. They'd swap houses every weekend or so to have a little fun. They also found an abandoned mall that Izuku's uncle Bruce, yeah, Batman, flat out bought so the boys could have a place to train under the condition that they welcomed others in need of training, which they would gladly do. Izuku was spending a few weeks of his summer in Gotham with said Uncle Bruce and was currently in Arkham. Come on, Mr. Lawton. You gotta tell me how you pulled off the Cairo job. It was an utter masterpiece. You heard that right. he's praising Deadshot on a job. Let's just say that the dude he killed needed killing. Badly. Deadshot just gave him the trade secret answer and walked off. I'm gonna say that Izuku has a hero and a villain book that's filled with notes and signatures of both villains and heroes. He's not going to condone villainous actions, but let's just say game recognized game. So there's that. Now, one of his absolute treasures was a signed copy of Dr. Harleen Quinzel's dissertation. He was actually allowed in a cell with her. If she got out of line, he could just zap her anyway, which is why they allowed such a thing. Harley wasn't much for kids, but Izuku was an exception. He was a complete and utter good boy, and that seemed to make her want to give him attention. She practically spoiled the boy rotten. He'd ask her so many questions, and she'd fire back. They'd make a game of profiling people. The guards, the inmates, each other. He was making people uneasy with how friendly he was being with Harley. Now, Izuku went home not long after this visit that I just mentioned. Now, sure, Harley was crazy, but if she could tone it down a notch and get away from that awful Joker, she'd be something great. The rest of his summer went by uneventfully. Now we're gonna jump to the summer before he starts 8th grade, which is the next summer, I guess. I know that sound. Now remember, he's 8 right now. 8. He's 12 at this point. I know that sounds off, but remember, his birthday is in July. Izuku gets a visit from his friend Superboy. I'm gonna go with Connor instead of John. When I say Connor, I mean Return of the Superman Connor, not Young Justice. I need a young, cocky, and slightly immature person, not a brooding bad boy with daddy issues. No offense to people that like that version, but he just won't work with Izuku. Not the way I need him to. So you're telling me that even with all that power you got, you still want more? Francis commented. Hey man, I know my place. I'm not on Kal-El's level, so a little poll here. Shall I say that Connor is the cousin of Clark, or shall I take a different approach and say that he's Clark's brother? Also, I'm just going to drop this little tidbit here. We're going with Tim versus Lex, the WB and all of that. Bruce Timm admitted to designing Lex to be ethnically ambiguous, but that dude sounded and looked like straight up like a light-skinned black man, and sounded like a legit businessman. He was like Renaissance man level stuff. So we're just gonna say that his mother was black and keep Lionel, well, obviously being white, to give us that specific feel for this. Now, by extension, Connor, who I don't think they ever reveal the percentage of how much Lex is in him, but I think Connor's at least 60% Superman, possibly more. So if you guys know the exact percentage, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna go with saying like Connor's about 75% Superman. And Connor's a little, skin tone is a little darker, but back to it. Hey, Superboy's right. It's like All Might always tells me. Never be scared to go beyond. Plus Ultra! Damian Wayne could be seen at a computer with Richie. They were working together on making a new training simulator. So here's a second poll for you. Should Damien have a quirk? If so, it's probably going to be an intelligence quirk. He's not going to be gear level, but close. Now, the mall ain't just a boys' club. Both of his sisters make use of the facilities. Anissa hasn't quite made hero yet, but she's close. Grace is also there along with McGann and Namuri. McGann even brings her cousin Garfield Jones. Before any of you go off on me, I wanted to take a different route with Beast Boy. And what better way than to do this? To be clear, when I say Garfield Jones, Garfield was adopted by Jean after, well, you know, the emergency blood transfusion. That's going to be given to him by John. The fact that he's green never really made sense to me, considering McGann is a white Martian. Was that because she was pretending to be a normal green Martian at the moment? Well, either way, sorry about my rant. Let's get back to where we were going with this. Picking up McGann, she flew over to Izuku and gave him a kiss. Hey, McGann. I see you brought your cousin with you, babe. Welcome to the tower, Gar. We'll help you step your game up to the next level. Now, this is a side passion project of Izuku's, and the Justice League approves of it. After all, it's just kids training for their impending entrance exams in the JSA. That's Justice Societal Academy, and well, I can't really come up with, unless you can come up with a better meanings. I just thought JSA sounds so much better than JA. But I also thought I'd give the Justice Society a little love with that title. One big thing about the JSA, it was in Freeland, and guess who the principal was? They've been training here for some time, and the only new entry is Beast Boy. Nightwing and Starfire are mentoring here as best they can with Izuku's consent. He knew of the Young Justice team and wanted nothing to do with it. Covert isn't his style. Justice League's little team of unlicensed teenagers could be the scalpel all they wanted, but sometimes you need a chainsaw. Izuku took flight on his new disc that Gear and Robin had constructed for him. They even made him a special suit that deployed when he gave a specific amount of charge. The suit was released from a watch he wore on his wrist. Think of it as a static version of the Flash's ring. Izuku got back to work with the others on constructing a giant T. Yup, the Titans are slowly coming together. See you next time, Deadites.